Hi, and welcome back to this week's Parsha Shir on Sefer or Gedalyahu. Ready from the first pasuk in Parshas Korach, so many questions come to mind about the nature of Korach and his rebellion and the events of the Parsha that ensue. The very first pasuk says, Vayikach Korach, ben Yitzhar, ben Kahas, ben Levi, Vidasan v'Aviram b'nei Eliyahu Peles b'nei Reuven, that Korach, the son of Yitzhar, the son of Kahas, the son of Levi, took. Now, of course, first question on the pasuk is what he took, who he took, which is not exactly spelled out over here. And Rashi has what to say, and Chazal have what to say. The second question is about Korach's lineage. Number one question is why his lineage is cited here at all. But the second and perhaps more perplexing question is once his lineage is being cited, why not go all the way back? It says Ben Yitzhar, that's his father, Ben Kahas is his grandfather, Ben Levi, which is great-grandfather. The end of the sentence should have been Ben Yaakov, that Levi was the son of Yaakov, going all the way back to his great-great-grandfather, if it was really trying to show where he came from and how he ended up being a part of this family and a part of this people. So Rashi notes here the reason why Yaakov is absent from the lineage in this pasuk. Rashi is quoting from a Medrash Tanchuma. Ben Yitzhar, Ben Kahas, Ben Levi, he says, Velo Hiskir Ben Yaakov, but it didn't mention that he is the son, the great-great-great-grandson, great-great-grandson of Yaakov. Why? Shebikesh rachamim al atzmo shelo yizacher shmo amachloksan. That Yaakov Avinu had davened in his lifetime that his name should never be associated with the machlokas that was created by Korach va'adaso. Shenemar, we see that there is proof to this notion that Yaakov wanted to extract his name somehow from the machlokas of Korach va'adaso, already in the pasuk b'kahalam al techad kivodi, the pasuk which is mentioned already back in the brachos which Yaakov Avinu gives to his children. In the bracha that he gives to Shimon and Levi in Parshas Vayechi, it says, Shimon v'Levi achim klei chamas b'cherosehem. What does he say about Shimon and Levi? Ultimately, bisodam al tavo nafshi. Into their conspiracy, my soul shouldn't enter. Bikalam al techad kivodi. My kavod should never enter their kahal, their midst, their gathering, their group. Now, of course, the plain meaning of the pasuk is that he doesn't want to be associated with their deeds, and specifically, because of the incident of Shechem, he didn't want to be associated with them. But the Medrash is saying that perhaps there's a dubla entendre to the pasuk in Vayechi. Not only was Yaakov saying he didn't want to be associated with Levi because of the incident of Shechem, but perhaps also in the future he wouldn't want to be associated with something having to do with the family of Levi, namely the machlokas of Korach va'adaso. His name wouldn't appear in the lineage of Korach, and that was his request. And we see that honored in the first pasuk of our parsha. The question becomes a little bit about the authenticity of this medrash, of this request, and of this answer to the absence of Yaakov from our pasuk, because there is another pasuk which also states the lineage of a certain member of the tribe of Levi, and it goes all the way back to Korach and to Yitzhar and Kahas and Levi, and in the end of the day does trace itself back to Yaakov. And that is a pasuk, an interesting pasuk in Divrei Hayamim, which Rashi cites here in the rest of this medrash on our pasuk. If you look in Divrei Hayamim Aleph Perek Vav, David HaMelech is appointing various Leviim to serve different functions in the Mishkan. And it says, Ve'ela asher heimi David al yedei shir beis Hashem mimenoach ha'aron. Here are the people that David HaMelech set over the performance of the songs in the Mishkan, in the house of Hashem, after the Aron had come to rest within that place. And one of the people mentioned here as one of the singers is Heman HaMishorer from the family of Kahat. When it says Heman HaMishorer, it says Heman HaMishorer, Ben Yoel, Ben Shmuel, Ben Elkanah, Ben Yerocham, Ben Eliel, Ben Toach, Ben Tzif, Ben Elkanah, Ben Machas, Ben Amasai, Ben Elkanah, Ben Yoel, Ben Azariah, ben Sifanya, ben Tachas, ben Asir, ben Aviasaf, ben Korach, ben Yitzhar, ben Kehas, ben Levi, ben Yisrael. Haman HaMashorer dates himself back to be a great-great-great-great-great-grandson of Korach. And in his lineage, he traces him back to Korach, and then from Korach to Kahas, to Yitzhar, to Kahas, to Levi, and all the way back to Israel, which is Yaakov. So the Gedalyahu asks a very important question here. He says, Tzarich biur, we require some explanation, Baha debikesh Yaakov rachamim al atzmo, that Yaakov asked for mercy upon himself. What is the question? Number one, Yaakov. Number one, why did he care not to be mentioned, associated with Korach v'Hadassah? So what's the difference? It's not like he was sinning in this particular manner of the rebellion of Korach v'Hadassah just because he was his great-great-grandfather. What's the harm of being mentioned? And on the flip side, im yeshkenai, if there is some disgrace in being remembered as the great-great-grandfather of Korach, and that's why it's left out of the pasuk in our parsha, then also in Divrei Hayamim, when it mentions the role the Leviim played, Haman HaMashorer played in the Mishkan, when it traces its lineage back all the way to Korach, it shouldn't have traced Korach's lineage all the way back to Yaakov there. It should have at least been consistent, one way or the other. Mimanavshach. Either Yaakov's request should have been honored, he never should have been mentioned, or perhaps Yaakov's request was unnecessary, and there should be no problem with being mentioned. But we have conflicting sources which seems to point in two different directions. Gedalyahu quotes one explanation, one answer to this question from the Sfas Emes, of why Yaakov felt it was okay to be associated with the lineage of Haman HaMashorer in Divrei Hayamim, but not with Korach himself in our parsha, and then he goes on to suggest his own answer as well. He says, Bi'er hasfas emes, the Yaakov bikesh rachamim, shehanekuda shel Yaakov avinu shehorish lebanav lo tiskalkel. Yaakov, what he was really davening for is not that his name shouldn't be associated with Korach, no, but that the point, the trait, that he would inherit down to his children, his grandchildren, his great-grandchildren, his essential trait that he would pass down should never become tainted. That's what he means in the pasuk when he says, in their kahal, in the kahal of Korach, I don't want my honor, my trait, my nakuda that I was mashrish to my descendants to be associated. Shanakuda shishvish Yaakov vino dorosav, because the trait that he passed on was the trait of emes. It was the trait of truth. Yaakov represents truth, and of course there's much to say about Yaakov's association with truth when in the earlier Parshios in Bereshis, when he takes the bracha and the bechora and the incident with Esav and his mother and Yitzchak, and it seems like he's the antithesis of emes, and yet we associate Yaakov most with emes, as we say already in the Shmona Esrei, in the Amida of Shabbos Mincha. When we say Yom Menucha Ukdusha L'Amcha Nasata, that you've given us a day of rest, Avram Yagel Yitzchak Yonem Yaakov and his children will rest therein. So once we've referenced Yaakov, then we say, what kind of rest is it? Menuchas Ava, Nedava, Menuchas Emes ve'emuna. We reference the trait of Emes in the context of Shabbos, because Shabbos is associated with the rest of Yaakov, and Yaakov is associated with Emes, and it's in many, many sources, a well-entrenched idea that Yaakov passes down the trait of Emes, of truth. So if that's what he passed down, and this machlokes of Korach v'Hadassah is the farthest thing from truth possible, because truth means you're fighting for something of value, something you believe is absolutely pure and absolutely true. And Korach v'Hadassah were doing it for self-serving reasons, so they weren't after the emes at all. It was a machlokes shelo l'shem shamayim. So Yaakov didn't want his name, not his name actually, but his trait, to be associated with this machlokes. Lachein bikesh Yaakov Avinu shemidaso nekudas ha'emes lo tizach. His trait of emes should not be mentioned in the context of Korach. But all he was asking for is that it should be absent from the reference to the story of the machlokas that they created. It's never going to be absent from his descendants. Never going to be absent from Korach or from Korach's descendants. But he just didn't want it to be written, to be named, to be mentioned in a context where clearly emes was not followed. But in Divrei Hayamim, when it's talking about them serving in the Mishkan, then there's of course no problem with referencing the name of Yaakov, which signifies the trait of emes. Okay, that's the explanation of the Sfas emes. The Gedalyahu adds his own little twist, which I think is very beautiful to this idea. Yesh levar ba'ofen acher ksas. He says, I could explain this in a slightly different way. Kiksiv, it says in the pasuk in Sefer Dvarim, Torah tziva lanu Moshe morasha kihilas Yaakov. That the Torah is what Moshe commanded us as a morasha, as an inheritance of the community of Yaakov, kihilas Yaakov. So what does that pasuk imply? Sheyakov Avinu horish v'hinich ledorosav es koach hakihila. The Yaakov Avinu passed down to his children and his descendants not just the trait of emes, of truth, but the trait of community. That what he passed down to us is Kihilas Yaakov, the community that Yaakov created. And if you think about it, it's so true. Avram was an individual, Yitzchak was an individual, Yaakov was the first that created a group. He created a family, he created the seeds of a nation, of a community. V'zeu shebikesh ubekahalam al techad kevodi. In Parshat Vayechi, when Yaakov says that he doesn't want his kavod to be bikahalam, in the kihila of Levi, what he was really saying is that he represents kihila, he represents community, but he didn't want to be associated with the community of Levi, ki kihalam eino ela pirud, because their kihila is not one of achdus, not one of unity, not one of truth that Yaakov passed down, but actually it was one of pirud, one of dissension, one of splitting things apart. Into that gathering, into that groove, Yaakov did not pass down, or they didn't accept what he passed down, which was the trait of community, koach ha'achdus, the trait of unity, shehu mimakor ha'emes, which all derives from the trait of truth. V'lachein lo haya yachol Korach lisached lefi shitaso ki chaser lo min asakila shel Yaakov. Korach was missing this trait of unity, this trait of community that Yaakov had passed down, and that's why his machlokas ends up splitting the nation apart. Chaser lo achdus hamiti. He was missing the true achdus, the true unity. So Yaakov doesn't want his name associated here in our parsha with Korach because they didn't really inherit the trait that he passed down. Of course, in Divrei Hayamim, that wasn't the case. It had nothing to do with a kahila around Korach over there. There it was just a reference to Korach in terms of his lineage being the great-great-great-great-grandfather of Haman HaMeshorer. So I think we understand the split, but we also understand something else, the split between Divrei Hayamim and Parshas Korach in terms of the mention of Yaakov's name. We also understand something else. Some critical piece of our inheritance as the Jewish people is to perpetuate both truth and community and the fusion between them. That somehow, when we are self-centered, when we are self-interested, as Korach was, we cannot simultaneously be invested in the truth of community, because you can't both be serving yourself and serving the community at the very same time. One often has to take a step back from self in order to serve others, in order to come together with others. If we expand ourselves out and out and out, there's never room for anybody else. It's only when we contract ourselves that we can make room for others. Imagine a circle with many people in it. The more you contract yourself, the more other people can enter the circle. The more you can form one cohesive group that fills the entire space. And ultimately, when you're seeking the truth, you're never self-serving. you're always serving the higher goal of MS. And that's the beautiful vision of community, that when we're all seeking the MS, when we're all seeking the truth, which is really HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself, we have the most noble of goals, one who is always willing to put themselves aside if you're wrong, because you're really trying to achieve truth. You're not trying to achieve greatness for yourself. When you're able to do that, you gain the proper avenue towards the community that Yaakov really passed down to all of his descendants, that hopefully we can tap into and benefit from, leading always towards the pathway of truth, which is the pathway towards HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself. Shabbat Shalom.